Hi there. I am making a recording today of me doing a hand-tied bouquet for you. And I'm showing you right now the jar that I am going to use to make that hand-tied bouquet. And I have some lovely flowers. I've got sunflowers, snapdragons, and some roses, a variety of things. I'm going to use this to just be kind of like a little tutorial for some of you who may not have done a spiral hand-tied bouquet technique yet. And you can use this application for a lot of different things. You'll find it really useful for making multiple arrangements. Sometimes I just really like designing things in my hands and then cutting them and sticking them in the vase. And then you can do a little zhuzhing or whatever afterward and stick some extra greenery. Right now I'm just kind of showing you the way that you kind of put stems together when you do the hand tied. And as I'm showing you there from shoulder in, a lot of people will teach you to go from your shoulder and bring the flowers in. I like to bring the flowers up from behind. Maybe that's because I'm left-handed, but I really do like kind of bringing my flowers up into my spiral. And the trick is to just get every stem that you bring up into your bouquet, whether that's up from behind or whether you like to from shoulder down in, from here down, is you just have to get all of your stems brought into your bouquet at the same angle, every single one, so that as you're turning, all of your flowers are going in the same direction. That's the key with the spiral technique. When you first get going, like me getting these first couple in the center here positioned where I want them, it's a little finicky. You know, I tried to start it really open to show you how you crisscross and then you turn, and you keep adding things at the same angle every time you bring them in, and then you turn and you bring another in. It's kind of finicky though, those first couple, but you get those in place. I kind of like to get my height and my line flowers in place, and then I start kind of bringing in my focal flowers. So you'll see I'm working with a sunflower here today, and I have a love-hate relationship with sunflowers, to be honest. I love them because they're so beautiful and cheerful, and lots of people love them, but they can be kind of tricky to work with. And these are local sunflowers from Colorado. And they do kind of want to kind of lean outward like a plate, and it can kind of make your bouquet look flat. But this one I'm going to try to anchor kind of in the middle and get everything to kind of go around it as kind of like my one focal flower. And so I keep going around. I'm adding some more snapdragons here. So I'm trying to also, as you're turning, you're creating texture and dimension, and you're also trying to evenly you know, get all of the flowers and the colors that you have evenly distributed in that spiral technique and in that bouquet. So as you go, you're gonna find, and I'm struggling here with the leucadendrons, trying to get them out of the bucket without breaking my snapdragon. You'll find as you go that you kind of keep adjusting heights, you know, maybe a little bit taller on this one or a little bit lower on that one, and you bring them up and down as you go. And you know, it's what you feel is pleasing to the eye and what's going to look good in the vase that you are putting this hand-tied bouquet into. Now obviously I already know that my vase is that kind of mason jar shape. I'm going to be using that, so I've got, you know, a good like 3 to 4 inches around to play with. And I'm keeping the stems pretty much the same size as I go, and I'll trim them at the end. But you can trim them short as you go. If you have something long that's just, you know, obnoxious to work with, you can trim it if it helps. And I'm noticing here as I'm going around, I've got a lot that's on one side, and now I want to bring the flowers around because that sunflower, I really want to keep it in the middle and keep going, and I don't want it to be on the outside. So now I have to kind of build and keep turning and bringing flowers in at that same angle and kind of bringing them around that sunflower so he gets kind of more tucked into the middle of that bouquet. I've got some nice straw flowers. Those are always fun to work with, especially this time of year. It's August here in Colorado, And so we're just beginning to see the beginning of autumn. And I love this time of year. It's just like when spring arrives, you know, and you have a new kind of assortment of paintbrushes to work with. And I love incorporating these like sunset colors into my bouquets. And I find that the corally, you know, peachy colored roses and purples and yellows and all those like beautiful sunset colors work really nicely together. So here I am, I'm continuing to adjust, and here I'm showing you how I'm bringing that rose in at the angle that I want it. And I'm showing you my hand position here. It's really important to keep your hand kind of loose and not have a death grip on your flowers, because you do want them to kind of gently open, and you want to kind of get that effect of how it's going to look in the vase. And if at all possible, like try to get your hand down on the stems as low as you can without losing control of those flowers. Flowers notoriously don't like to behave, so you have to kind of train them to go where you want them to go. And stems, as you are turning your bouquet, they will kind of roll on you a little bit, and that can be a little tricky and finicky to work with. But as long as you're keeping your stems going the same direction each time you're turning that bouquet, and every time you add a flower, you're always adding it from the same angle, whether that's, like I said, from behind or from the front in, and you're turning and you're doing everything, you're pulling everything in at the same angle each time, then all of your stems are going to start spiraling, and you'll see that like crisscross effect where my hand is. The flowers are going out this way and the stems are going down on a diagonal the opposite way. And as I turn, they keep going that direction. So I'm going to keep adding some flowers here. I'm trying to decide, I think, where I want to use that rose, and I want to kind of evenly distribute the color. And I think I'm deciding if I've got enough of the orange and the plum evenly balanced. So I also have some pink alstroemery. I think I had one stem here, or I thought I had two. But anyway, I thought I'd add it as an extra hint of pink. Love those straw flowers. And I've got these little stems of white aster or Monte Cassino for accent. I've got some rust colored huck. I don't know if you've seen that, but it was a nice surprise to see that rust colored huck at the wholesale market. And it's relatively inexpensive, and it's pretty. It's a pretty kind of rusty color to add as a foliage to your bouquets, and also get just, you know, a little bit of texture. I've also got some smaller sunflowers to add in there to complement the sunflower in the middle. And I think eventually one of them, I'm not really liking how it's bending and pointing outward, so I'm going to adjust that also. And I'm going to keep going around and showing you how it's coming along. It's starting to look really pretty. I love this mixture of color. And like I said, you know, this is such a great thing to learn how to do. This was one of the favorite things that I took home with me from my trip to Paris, was seeing the people, the florists in the Parisian flower market using this technique. And they would always, you know, ask me after I would pick out the flowers that I wanted them to put together for me, you know, what size vase do you have? And is this a gift or is it for you? And I would kind of give them an idea, you know, I have a vase about this big at home, and then they would cut it to size for me so that when I got home, I just put it in my vase and it looked beautiful. And right there you saw me also, I stuck something down through the middle. I didn't like the placement of one of those flowers. And that's the nice thing about spiral bouquets also, is that it's really easy to pull something out and put it back where you want it. It's not as easy to do that when you have a bouquet and the stems are just kind of going all over the place. If you try to pull something out, you end up pulling a bunch of stuff out. When you have a spiral, you can kind of easily pull out and replace. So there's my vase. So what I'm doing is I'm gauging about how long to cut my stems in order to get them to sit in the vase properly. And I'm gonna cut them right about there. And you know, it's just like a haircut. You can always take more off, but you can't put back. So be careful and go slow on this step. Don't cut too short too soon. Cut it a little bit longer maybe than you think it should be. Because what you can do is you can tie your bouquet in a rubber band. I'm going to show you that in a minute. You can stick it in the vase, see if you like the placement, and if it's still too tall, then take it out and cut it down another inch or two, or however much more you feel like you need to cut it down. So here I'm going to take a rubber band, I'm going to grab hold of a couple legs of stems, wrap it, and then rehook it, and that's kind of an easy trick if you haven't seen that for tying off your stems. And then I'm going to stick it in the vase, take a look, and as you can see there, I've got a couple of inches of stem length showing. So you know, that's a good technique for you to learn, is to just kind of try it, take a look, see what needs to be adjusted, pull it back out. And I'm going to take the rubber band off now that I kind of know what I need to do and how to adjust it. And I'm going to cut it down again, just a couple of inches. And this time I'm going to put it in the vase and I'm going to allow it to just kind of relax. And that's going to show me what it looks like and what I need to do. I'm also going to add a little bit more greenery now that I have it in the vase. I can kind of tuck greenery around the sides and really kind of finish off, if you will, that little bouquet. So I'm just kind of, you know, taking a little edit, looking at my work, deciding if I like where things are and if I've got everything evenly placed, and then looking at the sides, deciding, okay, where do I want to put my greenery? And so now I'm going to take some pieces of parvo yuke and stick those around the outer edge of that vase. And this is another thing that's nice about, you know, when you have events and you have a lot of arrangements to do, I think it's kind of boring to get all your vases out and do all the greening first and do everything all assembly line. I know sometimes that works, like especially if you have low dishes and you have to take them off and you need your greens done that way because you have to stick them in so that they hold well. But when you have vases like this and you're just doing a bunch of them, you know, it's nice to just kind of like get your assortment of bouquet material together for each one of your vases. So you're, okay, 3 snapdragons, 3 roses, 5 of this, 4 of that, and get your little piles, make your little hand-tied bouquets, cut them, stick them in your vases, and then kind of do your finishing touches at the end. For me, that's kind of a nice way to do things. It gets you away from the assembly line feel. And also you're just kind of not over greening your vases or your containers. I kind of like to be a little bit more flower forward and not over green or over stuff. So yeah, so that's just one way to, you know, as they say, skin a cat. I hate that expression, but you know what I mean. And there's so many applications for this, you know, for wrapping bouquets for people to take out the door at your shop. Or just, you know, if you want to do a simple arrangement at home, it's nice to just have like a mason jar or whatever vase that you have. Take a look at the aperture, like how much, you know, how wide is it, about how many flowers fit in it, how tall is it. Make your little bouquet in your hand, because it's scary, I think, for some people to design straight into a vase because flowers kind of flop around. And when you kind of get that technique down and you've figured out how, you know, to cut your stems at the right length so that they open and look nice in your vase, this is a wonderful thing to learn if you are a home DIYer and you're doing like a backyard party and you've got a bunch of these to make. Learning this technique is great for everybody, and it's fun. It's just fun and enjoying. So yeah, I'm getting a kick out of this. I think this is looking really cute. This is gonna go to a hospital today. to somebody in need of some cheer. So I'm happy to get this one sent out. Actually, as we're filming, it's already arrived, it's there. So hopefully somebody is enjoying this bouquet today. Okay, so there we have it. A nice little hand-tied bouquet in a vase. Hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you'll use that at home, or if you are a young designer and trying to figure out techniques to use that will help you in your career as a designer, that you'll be able to use this. All right, take care.